He's David Diehl. He's got a couple of Super Bowl rings, although not wearing any of those Super Bowl rings. Where are they?
They're in a safe right now.
They are?
Yeah, of course. I don't need to wear them every single day.
When's the last time you had your Super Bowl rings on?
I usually wear them during the broadcast is when I put them
Oh,
on.
you do?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do people care? I mean, do people want to put it on like when they see
yeah.
it? I mean,
yeah, they love it. I mean, it's especially the second one, Super Bowl 46. I mean, it's a monster ring, so it's hard not to see it when you're wearing it.
They're kind of gaudy, right?
Yeah, it's a good thing, though.
Fox's coverage of the NFC Championship game begins at 2 Eastern. Fox NFL Sunday Live from Seattle. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Chris Myers calling the game at 3 Eastern. David, of course, spent the season working with Fox. What do you expect to happen in these two games? Can we pull your microphone a little bit closer to you? There
You got it.
All right.
How's that?
Let's start with New England and the Colts.
Okay.
What do you think?
It's going to be another great game, I think. I think Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts have proven themselves as a football team, especially here in the postseason. But, I mean, New England Patriots at home, Tom Brady. I've got to go with New England with the adjustments that they've made, the ability that you think 5 weeks into the season, they already had obituaries written up for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick that they should be gone. But they've really gotten together as a group and as a football team. And let's face it, when you go to Foxborough, in the playoffs, I mean, it is a tough place to play and win. And I think that they've got that confidence rolling. They've got that belief in one another. Their defense is playing very well. I think that they're going to come away with the win.
When you face the Patriots, you faced them twice in the Super Bowl and beat them both times. But to go against Belichick, was the preparation any different because it's Belichick that you're going against in a game like that?
Yeah, it was, because you have to be prepared for anything. I mean, if you look at Super Bowl 46 when we played them, in the first half of that game, once we got it running the ball very well against them, they completely changed philosophies in the second half. They went from a 3-down front to a 4-down front in the second half. So in the second half, you're coming around and you're like, okay, this is what we've got to do to completely change our offense. He's got the ability to completely take a team and a defense, change their scheme, change their philosophy, so that when you come out in the second half, you're looking up against things that you weren't prepared for or looking for, and he's just got that team that if they do their job like they talk about, if they get to where they need to be, the sum of the whole is greater than any of the individual parts of that team.
What do we not know about the Eli throw to David Tyree, that play?
I think the funniest thing is that we didn't know he caught it off of his helmet until we went off, and after the touchdown by Plaxico Burress, we're in the middle of a 2-minute drill. So we're running around. We're thinking about getting downfield. And, finally, when we get to the side, they should replay it. We're like, now we know why everybody was going crazy, because we just thought he caught it. We were all into scrum trying to get Eli out of it and protect him, and we just thought it was a normal catch. But, the funniest thing for us is that wasn't even the biggest play of that drive. Granted, it was the biggest catch, but we had a 4th and 1 that we had to convert to keep the drive going. Everybody really forgets about that play, because if we don't convert that 4th and 1, the game's over.
Should they have called Eli in the grasp?
Should they have? No.
Just from an innocent bystander, as a Fox analyst, if you watched that, would you have said they should have called in the grasp?
Well, we're talking about a time now where the rules have changed. It's a different time now, and they've gone more to protecting the quarterback.
Would they call that today?
I think that they might have. Just for the sheer fact that he was locked up, he was standing there, and now it's to the point during football games that you're protecting the quarterback so much. If you've got 2 guys wrapping him up, they're going to blow that whistle because they don't want the third guy coming in to knock out the entire pile.
Can you imagine that?
No, I mean, I could, but I couldn't, because it would obviously it would take away a Super Bowl ring.
Imagine if you don't score the touchdown to Plaxico Burress, that you have the greatest catch probably in NFL history, considering that it helped win a Super Bowl.
But it wouldn't have been the greatest catch of all time, because if we wouldn't have won, it wouldn't have mattered.
Do you know that they wanted to, that Bruschi and Rodney Harrison, Rodney said change the defense, and Teddy wouldn't change the defense because he was worried about Belichick being upset with him. Rodney knew where it was going, yelled at Teddy to change it, he told me, and Teddy didn't change the coverage.
You know what? I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised, because there's a lot more said than just that before that drive. I'll just say that. Let's just say the New England Patriots were pretty arrogant in what they thought about that game being over before we scored that touchdown.
Wait, what
they voiced it.
What is being said?
You might as well kneel. Game's over. They said it right to us right before we even started that 2-minute drive.
Who's saying that?
I would say that there was 3 or 4 guys
Nobody's
on that
going to mess with you. You can say it.
That's the thing. I can't remember exactly who said it.
Give me one guy.
I know Rodney was a part of that crew. That's for sure. I know that's a fact. But they said right away before we even came out, we're walking to the line of scrimmage, you might as well kneel. This game's over. I'll never forget that because we were all, the minute we scored that game and we scored that game-winning touchdown, I mean, the minute we scored, we all looked at that team and we were smiling because we knew that we were capable of doing it.
He's David Diehl, the Fox NFL game day analyst, joining us in studio. Your hands are all gnarly, but is that typical for an offensive lineman?
I mean, 11 years in the NFL trenches, if anybody wants to get a good look of what it looks like. Here you go. So, a lot of people gave me a hard time about where I have a Super Bowl ring on my index finger and my pinky finger. Number one, you're giving a guy with 2 Super Bowl rings a hard time. That's pretty comical. But after that, I'm like, look at my hands.
You can't straighten out all your fingers.
No, I mean, this one has 8 pins and screws in it. I mean, I had to get my thumb completely sewn back on. And, I mean, you tape up your hands, but you're fighting in the trenches with guys. You're twisting and torquing. Actually, this one happened thanks to Vince Wilfork. We were playing in 2011 that during the regular season, we actually were able to go up to Foxborough and beat him. In the third quarter, I went to twist him and torque him. He spun, and my finger was in the shoulder pads and spun with him, completely ripped off. So that whole Super Bowl run season, if you look at pictures, I mean, I have a cast on my hand because my whole finger was completely over my pinky. So that before games, I'd have to get a shot in my finger, and I'd have this huge cast on because I couldn't grab. That was the only way I could play.
Can you stay for another segment?
I'm here.
All right. If you were watching during the live look-in, Danettes tried to block David. It didn't go well. If all 4 of you guys tried to block him, you couldn't have done that. Couldn't?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Who was the one guy, though, when you faced him, that he had your number as a defensive player?
It started early on for me. Obviously all the years I've played up against some of the greats like DeMarcus Ware and Trent Cole, but the guy who was my kryptonite was Leroy Glover. If you remember the old defensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, the Saints. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was maybe 5'11", 6 foot, so already he's got instant leverage on you. He's got old man country strength. He was strong as hell. And he would try to rip you out of his shoes if you could. And I played up against him the first time, really, as a 22-year-old on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. Oh, and the guys I remember before the game tell me, just wait till you see his belt. I'm like, what do you mean, wait till you see his belt? You get out there right before the first play, he had on an old-school leather dress belt that he would lock up and cinch up, and he'd be like, okay, it's game time. And you'd be like, this guy is a beast.
Wait, was it like a weightlifting belt?
No, it was like a black leather dress belt that he would have above his belly button, and he would pull this thing tight, and he had his hands wrapped up like a boxer, and you'd be like, I'll never forget that going up against him.
Did Eli ever yell at you after giving up a sack? Like your guy sacked you?
Oh, I wouldn't say yell at you, but he gave you the look every once in a while if you gave up a sack. Or his biggest thing was mental errors. That's something that there's no excuse for at this level. You go day in and day out preparing for the game. You should be sure in your game plan and confident in it. Or if you're not, you shouldn't be out there. That was his biggest thing that he would address, whether it was the offensive linemen, the receivers, the running backs. You can't have that on the football field.
What was your favorite shade of red on Tom Coughlin?
It's definitely got to be the Green Bay Packers shade of red of going there in Lambeau, 20 below zero.
Was it pink? I mean, what color is it?
I mean, it was burning red. And I'll never forget, he spoke to us at halftime, and everybody was looking at his face, and they weren't hearing the words that were coming out of his mouth. You couldn't help but stare and think, are you okay, Coach? Is everything all right? Because it was unbelievable.
I remember when Eli first got to town, and one of the Giants' offensive linemen said they thought that Eli was over his head as far as calling a game, the position. Did you feel that?
I don't think I felt that way. I mean, anytime that you have a quarterback coming in, especially with the hype that he had coming into New York, the trade, his brother, his father, the whole family tradition. So there's going to be a lot of critique and criticism on him instantly. But for me, the minute that he got into the huddle, you saw a quiet, shy guy in the beginning completely take over a huddle. And that's the biggest thing that you really saw is the minute that he took over, you saw that snap, that switch get hit, and it was all game time. And you just saw him get more and more comfortable, not only with the offense, but with himself to be able to be the type of person that he is day in and day out. And, I've always laughed about it because he's one of my best friends in the world. He's a funny guy. He's a prankster. He does all that stuff. And, still to this day, everybody wants to give him a hard time because they don't think he shows enough emotion.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is when you're a quarterback in New York City, when things are going great, things are going well, he's the most cool, calm, and collected guy in the world. And then when he's the same way when things are going bad or tough, he shows no emotion. It doesn't mean anything to him. He's the perfect type of personality that you have to be a quarterback in New York City.
Whose career would you rather have, Eli's or Peyton's?
Eli Manning's. Eli, because he is a part of, all the individual stuff, the greatness, and how much Peyton Manning has changed the game of football with his adjustments at the line of scrimmage, being a professor, and just the way that he's diagnosing things is unbelievable. But, to be a teammate of Eli's, to see the work that he put in, the improvements that he made year in and year out, I think that I'd go with Eli just because of the team and how much it's meant to him.
Give me the quarterback who's still playing in the Final Four that you would want to block for. Like he would be the best. He would be ideal.
Russell Wilson. He would be the most ideal because you're talking about a quarterback that you're not only sitting there blocking for 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drops, but his ability to escape the pocket, to run bootlegs, to get the run game going, to make linebackers and defenses get eaten up by that. He brings the perfect blend of that. And the other thing that he does is he is so smart with the football. He doesn't make careless decisions. He knows game time situations, whether it's a third down not to take a sack, whether it's a second down, throw the ball out of bounds or run it out of bounds. He doesn't take those extra hits that quarterbacks usually take, and his decisions are on point.
Did you ever feel bad if you held a player?
No. It's only illegal when you get caught holding in the game. There's a lot of, you talk about offensive linemen holding. How about defensive linemen holding? They do the same thing when they're running tackle and then twists against a guard and a tackle. That defensive tackle isn't looking just to penetrate the gap. He's looking to grab a guard's arm. He's looking to grab a hold of both the guard and the tackle so that defensive end can come around clear without anybody. So the defensive linemen do it just as much as the offensive linemen. Double teams trying to get up to the second level of a linebacker in the run game. Those three techniques are trying to grab you and just fall down to the ground and not let you get to the second level. So at some extent, they're doing the same thing that you're doing as an offensive lineman.
Would it be a compliment if somebody said you were a dirty player?
I wasn't a dirty player. I played the game in between the lines. I played hard.
Wait, you never
I played it to the whistle. But no, I wasn't a cheap shot guy. I wasn't a guy who actually cut people because I wasn't good at it. At 6'6", it's hard to get low and chop through people's sideboards. That wasn't my thing. I played hard. I played physical. I played to the whistle. Every once in a while, I'd give a guy a little extra shove to let him know that you're still blocking him the entire game that same way. But I wasn't a cheap player.
Would you need help on J.J. Watt?
You know what? That's a great question. I've never played up against him one-on-one, but every once in a while, if you're at tackle, a guard sliding out there and T-boning them in the ribs is always a help. Yeah, no question.
Can you ask for help, or does that sound soft?
What's that? Asking
in
for
a game,
help?
In a game.
No, this is the thing that, there are certain things that you have to do against premier pass rushers to throw them off balance. And it's not just chipping with a tight end or a running back, but you've got to do something to frustrate them and take them out of their game. That's the biggest thing. And, moreover than anything is you get those chips from that tight end or the running back. Yeah, that helps you, and it puts the defensive end back on you. But what it's doing is it's making him slow down his game and not come off as aggressive as he wants to, because he's got to look out of the corner of his eye if somebody's coming from inside or outside to get that extra hit on him.
Did you ever do anything in the pile?
No, I wasn't a pincher or grabber, but when you, I've been on the receiving end of it, and it is not fun when you're at the bottom of that pile.
Do you know who did it?
No, because that's the biggest thing. You curl up basically in a fetal position, tucking the ball, getting your knees into your chest.
How many fumbles have you recovered?
I've probably recovered over 10 in my career. And when you're at the bottom of the pile, I mean, you are getting kidney shots. People are grabbing things that you don't want them to grab. You're getting poked. You're getting twisted. I mean, honestly, that's the biggest thing because, at the bottom of the pile, all the referees are trying to see who has the ball. Until everybody's off of it, you really don't know. And it gets ugly down there.
I got you with 11 fumble recovers.
There you go, 11.
Yeah. But anything goes in the pile?
Yeah. And it's scary. It is very scary.
Do you know how many tackles you've had in your career?
I think same thing. I may have had over 10. And it was unfortunate. When you have tackles, it's not a good thing. That means you're running down interceptions.
Yes.
My favorite tackle of my entire career, 2004, we're playing at Baltimore. Ed Reed picks off Eli Manning in the far sidelines. I'm playing right tackle at this time. He's running, and I'm taking a perfect angle. That's the biggest thing as an offensive lineman. You're running on an angle to get to the cutoff point, and you're running with your eyes like this because you're looking to see if anybody's ready to T-bone you. So I'm running on a perfect angle, and all of a sudden, Ed Reed pitches it to Deion Sanders. So Deion Sanders cuts back, and I'm the last guy. And sure enough, he cuts right into me. I make a perfect form tackle. Come on, baby, you got to let me score on that one. You got to let me score. He's saying, so that may have been my favorite tackle I've ever had in my career.
Come on, let me score.
Yeah, he's like, come on, you got to let me get away with that one. That's 6 right there, baby.
You ruined a good highlight for prime time. How much can you bench?
I'm not the 315-pounder like I used to be. I'm probably 265, 270 right now. But I'm still a meathead. I still go in the weight room and lift weights.
If I stacked all the Danettes on top of one another,
I can bench over 400 still.
At your peak, what could you do?
I was never a 500-pound bencher. That was Snee. Snee was an absolute beast in the weight room. He had that stocky little body. He was an absolute force in the weight room. I think at my high, I was probably maybe a 485, 495 guy.
Now, Snee's Tom Coughlin's son-in-law.
Yep.
Did father-in-law ever yell at son-in-law?
Yeah, that's the thing about Coach Coughlin. He yelled at everybody, but
even Eli.
Oh yeah, he got on everybody. That's the thing with good, bad, and different. With Coach Coughlin, you know where you stand. And I think as a man and as a football player, you wouldn't want it any other way. He would yell at him. I think the one time that it was comical that every one of us laughed, Coach Coughlin said, "Come on, son," and everybody was like, "That's really the son now." That was Snee. Snee. That was the biggest one. But Chris had the perfect demeanor. He's a tough, hard-working guy, and that never played a factor in the locker room because of just the way that he worked, the way that he approached the game, and proved what type of football player he was.
Aside from Giants offensive linemen, the lineman that you would want to block for you, who's the one guy?
Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas, left tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Most consistent offensive lineman I've seen in a very long time.
Is he going to be a Hall of Famer?
I think so. Pro Bowler from his rookie year on. He's just absolutely flawless in his fundamental and his techniques. You talk about offensive tackles when they take sets, that their feet should look like they're in paint each and every time. His sets look the exact same every single time. He's unbelievable.
I'm glad you came by, David. Good to see you.
No, it's great to be on.
He's David Diehl from Fox, also a two-time Super Bowl winner from the New York Giants. Looks like he could still play.